Is there a locker room concern? Is there a situation where just guys are not clicking? Does it have to do with Mike Brown? Is the message that Mike Brown is putting out there, is his message not getting through to these guys? Because again, the no matter what it is, right? Like it's the same thing with football in a way, right? A team could be a coach away. You bring in a fresh new face in a team that could be up and down. All of a sudden, you bring in a coach that knows what he's doing, and all of a sudden, this team is playing right for this coach. They're playing much better basketball. They're winning more games. The offense is there. The defense is there. The culture is there. Everything is clicking. That you don't really see that with Mike Brown right now. You see, I saw that with him in December when we won the NBA Cup. All of a sudden, it's like now you start to question, like, are they really playing for this dude? Like, is this who they like? Is it something to where they were used to Tom Thibodeau? And I'm the one guy that brings Tom Thibodeau a lot because there is a lot of comparison. And when I've brought him up, if you guys have watched my videos, when I've brought him up, I have brought him up in the compare and contrast situation with what Mike Brown is doing with this team now and what Tom Thibodeau was doing with this team last year. The Knicks took a big risk, right? And I've spoke about this many times before, where they had to give up and break up a team that kind of was finding their momentum in a way. You had Dante DiVincenzo, right, who looked comfortable. He was playing with his boys and Mikal and JB, right, all Villanova brothers. And then you had Julius Randle, who understood Tibbs and noticed that he was thriving in a way under a Tom Thibodeau system. Now, obviously, 6 years or 5 years to say, right? Because I was expecting Tom Thibodeau to be here in his 6th year, considering the fact that he just got us in Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years as a franchise, right? I was expecting him to get one more shot. If by any chance we would have lost in the first or second round in his 6th year after making the Eastern Conference Finals, then Tom Thibodeau would have been fired. And to me, that would have been justifiable. But because of that, because they decided, we're going to make some changes and we're going to take Tom Thibodeau out of his position, and maybe that might be something that right now none of these guys like. And here's the thing. Personally, I don't think that I'm just putting that out there as probably one of the reasons why they could be struggling. But that wasn't the case a month ago when we were winning games and when we won the NBA Cup. And I always go back to the NBA Cup because that's when everything was gelling together. So that could be a thing. It also could be just the fact that, listen, these guys are trying to play around Cat, and they're just not getting it. See, people want to put the blame on Mike Brown. People want to put the blame on the fact that he doesn't do anything. And listen, this is the worst that this team has looked defensively. Mike Brown has been criticized for not having good defensive teams. I mean, that was one of the things he was criticized when he was the head coach of the Sacramento Kings. They gelled very well offensively, but they could never get it going defensively. And you had a first defensive guard in De'Aaron Fox that was leading your way. But that was the question mark with Mike Brown. So now you're kind of looking at it in the standpoint of, this is the worst defensively that the Knicks have ever looked. Is this a flaw of Mike Brown where he can't get it right? And that's where the question thing. But to me, I don't, people always say like that, this is a Cat issue. This is a player issue. It's not a player issue or a Cat issue. It's a team issue. Just watch the way that they're playing offense. And again, if you want to put that on Mike Brown to a certain extent, I completely understand, because you're drawing offensive schemes in the huddle in timeouts. You're adjusting to the game plan of what Dallas puts out there on the court. The problem is that there is no consistent offense coming from this team. You see, if our offense was in top the tip top shape form, although the defense will still be in question, you could kind of make up for that with your offense, right? The problem is that their defense sucks, and it sucked all year, and then your offense sucks. So you really can't find no path of consistency to try to build on, to try to get your team to win and do something. And that's the issue, right? That's where we that's where we struggle the most. So in a sense, there's no path to be like, all right, we're struggling here, but let's stick to this, because if we can stick to this and get this going over here in this path defensively, we got to fix that as we build confidence from our offense. That's the problem. They don't have any of that. They don't have not one source of offense right now to capitalize on. They have no sense of urgency right now. They don't have any consistency from any single one of these players.